Welcome and thank you for joining us at Industry Insights. My name is Shaun, Director and Founder of Prosumer Connect. Today I have the privilege of introducing you to Mr. Peter Rogers. He's the Director of NetAssess. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Considering this is the first Industry Insight that you are attending, would you mind giving us a bit of a background as to your company and your background as such as well, please?
Certainly. Nice to be here.
Thank you.
12 years ago we started NetAssess. My history is I'm a qualified panel beater. I've been assessing since I was 21. So 12 years ago we started NetAssess and decided to offer certain services that weren't available to the rest of the industry, which was national assessing, etc., etc. So we signed up certain clients and we've just went from strength to strength.
Fantastic. Peter, if I may ask you, of the industry size, what size is NetAssess currently holding about in the assessing industry?
Probably about 7-8% of the total market.
Wow. Okay.
But again, them figures are, nobody shares the exact figures. So,
Okay.
you know what, we guesstimate how many accidents there is a month and then we take it from there.
Fantastic. No problem. Today's topic that we're going to unpack is COVID-19. We have had many discussions with our previous experts on COVID-19, and I don't think the assessing world is any different. The impact that COVID-19 would have had onto your business would obviously be similar to the rest of the industry. So can you give us a bit of an insight as to what the impact was to the assessing environment as COVID hit?
It was huge. Everybody stopped driving. So if you think about it, there was no accidents. We dropped down to 10-15% this time last year. I mean, this time last year we were scrambling to get permits just so we could get people on the road, trying to get them out so we could go see certain cars and clients after they've had accidents. We found once we went through different stages of changing on the different levels, we increased to about 30%. That stayed like that for a couple of months, and then it just continued to increase. Yeah. Thankfully, we're back to more or less to pre-COVID.
Fantastic.
So we can't be unhappy, but yeah, it's a bit different.
So I heard a rumor that some clients in actual fact also didn't want to see assessors during the initial phases of COVID. So what kind of problems did you guys deal with?
Some of the stories I could tell you. I mean, we had a client who came to see us but wouldn't open the window because she's got COVID. But we went to see the car. Yeah. We phoned clients, they didn't want to see us, they wanted to do, so we had to be innovative and think on our feet. So we got them to send photographs. So we tried to do the codes from the photographs, doing digitals, things like that, just to being able to process the claims. So hopefully assist the client so they didn't have hundreds and hundreds of claims still outstanding. Okay. But it was a challenge. It really was a challenge.
So that kind of leads me into my next question, Peter. How did you guys innovate? How did you stay abreast? How did you change? How has your world changed as a result of those first couple of months? And then more importantly, how have you survived as a business, considering your business went from, 100% operation to 10 and then slowly recovering?
So we struggled, trust me, it was tough. Fortunately, we're a big organization. Our biggest challenge was to get our phones mobile. From when the president made the announcement, I think it was the Sunday night, if memory serves me right, we had till Thursday. So now I've got a call center with 30 people just calling clients. Now I've got to be able to get 30 people phoning from home. It was a huge challenge. Thankfully, my IT guys with the support, we did it. By the Wednesday, I think at lunchtime, we officially were live. So no cutting corners there. We got it, but with our technology and our skill, we've already been doing digitals.
Okay.
So we already did digital, especially the outlying areas. South Africa is very vast.
Yeah.
And anybody who tells you you've got a national footprint, it's impossible. Not in Africa. South Africa is huge. So, I mean, we've got farmers who have a claim, they'll send photographs because they only go into town once a week.
Yeah.
So instead of leaving it for a week before we can arrange to meet him, we will do that. Then we'll do an audit on it when it gets into the shop to make sure everything is fine.
Okay.
But there's a different skill level needed for that, but we've been doing that for years. So that assisted us greatly.
Okay. And how did you survive? Financially?
Financially, I mean, we have 140 staff members.
Wow.
We had to make some tough choices, but the choices that we are proud of is every single one got paid. We went to short time. We went to short time and we went to 80%. But they got 80% salaries.
Okay.
So every single employee got 80% salaries.
Yeah.
And then they got the UIF, the TERS contribution when it came into them.
Okay.
So we also just innovative. We just suck it up. We run a good business. We don't drain our business. It's a proper business. We run it along proper business lines, so we were proud we had the cash flow to carry the business.
Wow.
Which was unlike some other of our competitors, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They also fell away.
No, absolutely. So I think it's fair to ask you to give us an outside opinion. We had Mr. Richard Green the other day as well with us, and he's in the NBR space, but I think you work very closely with the NBR and you've got a good view from outside inward. What impact was there to the NBRs?
It was huge. It was huge. My heart felt very sorry for them. I mean, they went from to close to nothing, to no cars being on the road. They still had the parts, because in the NBR space, they pay their parts a month, 30 days later. So it was a real challenge for them. Then when the lockdown, the hard lockdown was lifted, they then had to start with emergency essential workers vehicles, and there just wasn't enough to go around. So some of them were opening it up, and they were losing money by opening up their shops. It was actually a scary time.
Yeah.
And they still haven't recovered from it. Unfortunately, they are still, I mean, if you speak to 99% of the panel shops, they haven't recovered, and it will take them years to recover. If we can get back to 100, 110%, it'll take them years to recover. Their cash flow has been diminished.
Cash flow is any small business's major problem, right? And I think, that lockdown, that catching up, you'll never catch up those months, and overheads was there, salaries had to be paid and those kind of things. So unless you were cash flux, I think most businesses would have struggled.
And a lot of them have not paid certain things. They're catching up, paying their debt off now. So, I mean, they're really struggling. Even if the business is back, they've still accumulated debt.
Yeah.
So they've got to catch up and pay that off. It's a real struggle. It really is a real struggle for them.
That's terrible. The other thing that I want to ask you about, Peter, did you see any noticeable once the engine started moving again? Was there any hurdles that was found in your way? So was parts readily available and those kind of things? So what new problems, once you started getting up again, did the industry at large suffer?
So what we found was a lot of the European models, their factories had been closed because of COVID in Europe. So to get certain parts, there was just a back order. Thankfully, the volumes of our claims wasn't that big, so they were quite easy to handle.
Okay.
But if it was in a normal time, and it was in Europe and not in South Africa, it would have been disastrous. The prices, we did see it did climb. We did see it climb, but it's also linked to rand, euro, and so again, the exchange rates go up and down, and I mean, some of the guys can manipulate it, but it was tough. It was tough. The challenges of finding the parts, getting it, and getting them delivered.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was 3 to 5 months before it started coming back to normal.
Sure. That's terrible. Pete, last question from my side, and maybe putting you a bit on the spot. Do you have a date in mind when you can say all is restored and all is back to normal, or is that an indefinite date?
That's an indefinite date. I'd love to say 6 months we'll all be recovered. I don't think we will recover quickly.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be years. Like I mentioned earlier, they've got debt to pay off. So the one thing that is suffer is the skills training. So the training of staff and the training of people in the industry. All panel shops are running lean now and efficient. So if they get a surplus of work, it's just standing. They don't have the bodies to fix everything because they can't work on consistency.
Yeah.
So like a shop will design itself and say they want 50 cars a month. 40 drivable, 10 non-drivable, then they can pitch mark and they know how many staff they've got.
Yeah.
One week we up, 1 week we down. I mean, at the beginning of the year when we were put back to the level 3, it went quiet again. But we've been busy, but then it just goes quiet again. So now these shops have got work, they're finished, but there's no work coming in. But now they've still got 30 employees.
Yeah, because that stop-start is again...
Stop-start. And in the motor industry, you can't stop-start.
Yeah.
It costs money because when you get the car in, it still takes a week, 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get the car out. So if they get in the 15th of the month when we lifted, they weren't getting anything else. So it becomes quite a challenge to them.
Pete, then looking to the future, what would you say have you taken away from COVID-19 and NetAssess as such, and how will that change the way you guys actually operate going forward? Or was there just general lessons that you guys were made aware of all of a sudden that will change the way that you guys look at business going forward?
The one thing that it did teach us was technology. Without technology, we would have been dead in the water. So technology, digital assessments, clients sending the photographs through cell phones, WhatsApps, etc., videos, live streaming videos. We did quite a lot of that with clients, and it helped greatly. So we've continued some of that practice going.
Okay.
But to give the customer the service.
Yes.
So if a customer does not want to go to a driving centre or travel and meet the assessor, because a lot of clients still feel unsafe.
Yeah.
They still don't want to travel. So we still offer that service, and the feedback we've got has been very positive from the clients.
That's fantastic. So moving with the
Tide.
I mean,
And technology, I mean, that's where the smaller guys did suffer. We didn't suffer as bad. We've already invested in the technology in our business and the skill level.
Okay. The last unfair question, 10 to 1, is was there any upside to COVID-19 from a business perspective whatsoever?
If you look at the panel industry, some of the weak fell away.
Okay.
So there is less panel meters, but the fall off wasn't as high as I thought it was, although they did fall off. So South Africans, we survivors.
Yeah.
We survive. In our world, a couple of independent assessors left the industry, went for safer jobs, the one-man bands and that, and the insurance companies, the bigger insurance companies have realized, and the brokers and administration houses, that they should be using a more repairable company, which has got the infrastructure to deliver.
Okay, fantastic. Safety in numbers.
Yes.
So to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys, and that basically wraps it up for today. Peter, thank you very much once again for joining us. Do catch us on follow-up sessions.
Thank you very much.